Advance Australia. Oh, hey, didn't see that. So first of all, it's important to realise that language and culture are inseparable. Our language influences our culture and vice versa. And what we have to realise is that EALD students bring this language and culture into the classroom with them, along with very diverse educational experiences. Students may have had disrupted schooling with no English language learning, so when they walk into an English classroom in Australia, they're going to be across one of the 4 language learning phases and need targeted differentiation approaches suitable for them. These students face the enormous challenge of not only having an L1 that is different to the dominant language, but also culturally different thinking styles. This places them in a cognitively demanding situation by having to translate between languages, adjust their thinking styles, comprehend new content, adjust to social changes, all while potentially dealing with issues of self-esteem. And with that level of mental strain overloading such a young mind, it's pretty easy to see how EALD students can fall behind their peers if nothing's done to help them. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory advocates that social interactions form the basis for learning and development, that learning precedes development, and that mediation is required for learning. In the classroom, the teacher should act as the cultural mediator, helping students to develop metacultural sensitivity and providing them with insight into their own cultural understandings and assumptions. Another cultural difference is literary practices, with the writing system being divided into 3 groups. Teaching English to a learner with syllabic or morphosyllabic writing systems can be particularly challenging, as often when a learner has gaps in their L2 syntactical structure, they refer to their L1 as a substitute. Similarly, when L2 learners are presented with unfamiliar phonological rules, they experience difficulty in pronunciation as they are relying on the structures of their familiar L1. One recommendation is to complete a sociolinguistic profile of an EALD student when they enroll to determine their specific English language learning needs. This should be completed thoroughly and carefully, as school data on the student's language background is often unreliable because the monolingual mindset that pervades Australian culture creates an invisibility of languages which hides students' needs. In the case of Indigenous students, this often means that efforts are made to correct their bad English rather than recognising the legitimacy of their Creole or Pidgin. Another strategy I found helpful involves implementing a whole school approach, which can be achieved through promoting inclusivity, acknowledging diversity, countering racism, developing cultural understanding, and working in teams. It is also important to support EALD students through the use of clear instructions, explicit teaching, scaffolding and support strategies, practice preparation and revision, modified assessments and tasks, and building a shared knowledge. Allowing EALD students to use their L1 where appropriate is encouraged, along with using bilingual and bidialectal resources and activities, like using a bilingual teaching assistant or allowing EALD students discussion time in their L1 before using a writing task in their L2. Remember that while the L1 is a useful tool which should be used in L2 learning, it should not be overused. Unfortunately, EALD students are often seen as a time-consuming issue to be dealt with in the classroom, but by identifying gaps in their schemas and correcting misunderstandings, any cognitive dissonance can become an opportunity for learning. All students should have a space in which they feel safe, have the right to participate, and are engaged in activities that promote learning. This gives teachers and students the opportunity to accept each other's culture and move from a place of ethnocentrism to ethno-relativism as they begin to understand cultural variances through intercultural sensitivity. Researching into this topic, I was surprised to find how many resources were actually out there to help with teaching EALD students, and I think it's because it's not often a talked about subject. I am still unsure about how to actually do all of this in the classroom while teaching content, implementing differentiation strategies, helping with assignments, marking and giving constructive feedback, prepping them for standardised testing, making sure my students' mental health isn't suffering, and also staying sane myself. However, this is definitely a topic I want to know more about, and I'm going to keep researching to keep finding strategies to help me better my teaching practice. Thanks for listening. Bye.